Carl ran out of the door with a face full of panic. When he saw the world outside, he was stunned. The dilapidated buildings, sloping roads, and passers-by who were missing their bodies, these earth-shaking changes made him feel like he was in a dream. At this moment, a dark monster appeared on the ruins in the distance. Seeing this scene, Carl subconsciously stepped back. However, the monster's speed was too fast and it came to Carl in an instant. Just when he was about to drink to the northwest, a cannonball hit. Carl saved the three people and hurriedly helped him up. The monster has not disappeared, and the black liquid is gathering at a speed visible to the naked eye. They took Carl to a broken road. Looking at the broken city below, Carl's legs were already trembling. Brother Beard pushed him down. It was amazing. He went directly to another area. Then they came to a broken bridge. The three members of the rescue team jumped towards the lake one after another, and then teleported to the roof of the building in the air. It was Carl's turn that made him a little timid, but looking at the monster approaching from behind, Carl still jumped over in order to escape. At this time, the monster also chased him. In order to escape the monster's pursuit, the man shot him, but his palm was accidentally scratched by the monster. Fortunately, they also escaped the monster's clutches. The rescue team led Carl for a long distance, and the scene in the sky was like a dream space. Finally they arrived at the destination of their trip. After passing through the abandoned bus, they came to a hidden place. This is a refuge for all escapees and will not be discovered by the monsters outside for the time being. The leader here also accepted Carl and arranged a place for him to live. Carl, who had been on the run for a day, was too tired, so the old man fell asleep and some memory fragments appeared. When he woke up, there was an overturned car on the wall of his bedroom, and the person in the passenger seat looked exactly like himself. Carl was very confused because he seemed to have lost his memory and couldn't remember anything. Then he came downstairs, and Brother Beard told him that anyone who comes to this world will have unique powers. For example, Brother Beard in front of him has infinite power, and Xiao Mei, who saved him yesterday, also has the ability to heal. However, the power in his body can only be stimulated in actual combat. The next day, Brother Beard led everyone to go out to find the energy leader and asked them to take Carl with them, maybe they could stimulate the supernatural powers in his body. Carl wanted a self-defense weapon, but Brother Beard was full of reluctance. After all, no one wanted to bring a burden. But there was no way, this was the leader's request, so everyone set out on the road to find energy. The group of people walked on a cobweb-like road, filled with strange scenes and buildings, and there was an aerial railway in the sky. It all seemed like the end of the world. Carl went out to look for supplies with everyone, and the man beside him explained to him that this was a dream world, and they were all dying, so they would stay here. At this time, the witch on the side sensed the monster's signal and found them on the other side the next second. The man explained to her that in order to avoid the monster's pursuit, they must find supplies immediately and rush back. Soon they came to the destination of their trip, an abandoned factory. However, the factory was also full of dangers because there were virtual guardians here. They had to kill them all before they could safely cross here. Everyone is using their own lives to solve the case, and only Carl hides in the corner to solve it. After guarding, they found the mission target of this trip, which was the explosives in the submarine. However, as soon as they took out the torpedo from the submarine, the witches on the side sensed the signal of the monster approaching, and they were moving quickly towards the factory. At this time, the torpedo accidentally fell off the submarine and was about to fall. A slide appeared out of thin air in the sky. The torpedo went down the slide. Carl's ability was defeated. His ability was to rebel from the air. After returning to the shelter, everyone was praising Carl's abilities. The leader also praised him. He felt that his abilities were of great use and hoped that Carl could build an indestructible fortress for them. Carl agreed without thinking. After everyone left, Carl tried to use his abilities, but he failed, but the high cow he just boasted could not be realized. At this time, Xiao Mei appeared, and his words suddenly inspired Carl. Carl continued to try, and sure enough, he revealed the dreamer, and a small building was born. Back in the room, the two looked at each other and chatted about home affairs. The next scene was a bit childish, but it was all seen by Brother Beard outside the house. The next day, everyone got ready and left the shelter. The monsters outside also noticed their aura, and Brother Beard and the team had a weird smile on his face. At this moment, the Miko felt the monster's aura, and the leader asked everyone to separate for safety reasons. Carl walks through a thick fog and the long scene before him is simply breathtaking. At this moment, the monster also came behind him. Fortunately, his teammates arrived in time and rescued him safely. When Carl returned to the team, he found that Brother Beard had deliberately attracted the monster, and one of his hands had also assimilated with the monster. At this time, more monsters surrounded them. Carl's head suddenly became dizzy while escaping. Everything around him immediately became blurred, and then disappeared from the scene. A group of unknown creatures are hunting humans. Carl suddenly became unconscious while fleeing with everyone, and then disappeared from the scene. When he opened his eyes, he found that he was lying on the hospital bed, with everyone in the dream lying next to him. His whole body was penetrated, and he also regained his memory. It turned out that he was an architect, and the leader in the dream was sitting opposite him. He also told Carl the truth. It turned out that he was the one who brought everyone to the dream in order to realize him. A great scientific experiment that allows everyone to live forever in dreams. But Carl insisted on returning to reality and asked him to let everyone go. But how could the leader let him get what he wanted? He threatened his girlfriend's life and asked him to build an indestructible castle in his dream, and then let them go. For this reason, Carl could only agree to his request. After waking up, Carl returned to the house in his dream. What was in front of him was his great masterpiece in real life. Just when his teammates were about to be wiped out, a road suddenly appeared in the sky. Yes, it was Carl who arrived. Then the leader led everyone to an open space, and Carl waved his hands like a dreamy building rising from the ground. Finally the castle was built, and Carl collapsed from exhaustion. Now it was the leader's turn to fulfill his promise. The leader also told others the truth. It turned out that the witch with superpowers here was just a madman who lost his child in real life, and the big fat man next to him was also a murderer in reality. The murderer will also face jail time after he gets out. The Carl in front of us is also an unemployed architect in reality. Because his ideas are too advanced, no one uses him. After hearing the news, everyone decided to stay and did not want to return to the real world. But the leader said, "Since you know my secret, you will not be able to leave here alive." Then the fat man died, because his oxygen tube had been removed in the hospital. Seeing this, Carl hurriedly took the remaining people to find the exit. They came to the room of the shelter, which turned out to be the source of the dream. They came to the laboratory in the dream. At this time, the leader also chased after him. Carl wanted to compete with him, but his power was too strong and he caught him in his hand. Seeing that Carl was about to disappear into ashes, a black tentacle suddenly pierced him, and the leader hated the Northwest. Carl also wakes up in the hospital and returns to the present world with his girlfriend. Carl is still a useless designer living in poverty. At this time, an advertisement was broadcast on TV, and most people still wanted to squeeze their heads into that world. Carl flipped the business card under the computer desk, which was an advertisement for the laboratory. Looking at the business card on the table, he hesitated. Looking back at our real life, many people actually live in their own big dreams and are reluctant to wake up. In fact, life is not as bad as you think, but as long as you are willing to take that step, life will give you a hopeful tomorrow.